Hey y'all, welcome back to another Garrett Racing Team's YouTube channel video. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and if you would, hit that like button and share to people that you know, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. As you can see, we're not in our normal race shop setting when we make videos. Tonight we're actually going to do this right here in my home. I have an area set aside just for my YouTube video editing and my iRacing that I do 9 p.m. Wednesday nights, live streamed on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And what we're going to start doing too is taking those videos, editing them, and make highlight reels for additional YouTube channel videos, so they're not as long. Most people can't sit down and watch an hour of that, so maybe a 10 or 15 minute highlight of our races. We've been doing pretty good on that the last few weeks, been winning some races, been finishing the top 2 or 3. It's been very, very good, very, very entertaining, and been having pretty good conversations with people in there. You can actually talk to me as I race. But anyways, tonight's content, we're actually going to go in and do a transmission install, y'all. So about a year ago, I had a guy by the name of John Moore out of Reesville, North Carolina, runs a business called Moore's Transmissions. He more or less does maintenance work and new transmission installs for your personal vehicles and that type of thing, automatic, manuals, it doesn't matter. But he also races himself, and he does some side work for race car drivers like me that have their own personal projects. So he took a transmission that I had, rebuilt it, put some new parts on it, cleaned it up, and did some custom work to it, and it really looks nice, guys. I had a sticker more or less put on the side of my car just for his business, so he helped me out so much. So this picture that you see right now is more or less my thank you to him. I put it on the side of there to hopefully give him some business, and maybe through this video as well. So check him out, guys, if you would. The transmission is a GM 4-speed that we're more or less dictated to run by the rules. It works real nice for our setup. You're going to see basically the before, it all clean, nice, how the shifter linkage works, the throwout bearing install, the bell housing install, and the final install on the transmission. And guys, hang around towards the end because I had a little bit of a safety blooper that you need to see. Alright guys, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Let's get in here. This informative transmission install on a NASCAR style open wheel modified. Alright y'all, let's get at it. So to start off with, we're going to talk about this GM 4-speed. It's a Super T10 transmission. As you can see here, we're working the shifter back and forth to kind of give you an idea how smooth the linkages work since all the work has been done to it. It's been really, really nice job, real clean look to it now. The front half has been painted, cleaned up to give it a nice new look. The rear tail housing is brand new aluminum housing with a new bushing in the rear to help keep the oil from leaking out. Also, if you look here, this plate here, John actually made this for me and welded these studs on both sides, so that way when I'm attaching the lock nuts, as you see here and here, that rear plate does not spin, and I'm able to easily take these lock nuts off to get the gear stick out of the transmission if I ever need to do any type of maintenance, or if I just want to change the stick out for some reason. But I'm going to take this out so you can kind of see this. Take those 2 nuts off, this plate will pop out, and you'll see the studs come out with it. You can pop the stick off from there, and basically you're good to go. Take it in and out any way you want to. Very easy to do while it's inside of the car. Don't have to really manipulate myself too hard to get in there to get it out. So now the transmission is actually underneath the car. We moved it out from the shop floor to underneath, and I want to show you this throwout bearing here that we use. It's a hydraulic actuated throwout bearing. Basically it's used to engage and disengage the clutch so that the car can go in and out of gear as we're going around the track. As you can see here, we have 4 studs all the way around basically the outside of this shaft here. Those studs are actually used to set the clearance for the throwout bearing. As you can see, these 2 jam nuts can be broke loose and go in and out to set how far forward or back the throwout bearing can be placed on the transmission. All this stuff has to be measured and correctly done. If not, you'll have either interference with the clutch or not enough throw to help get the car in and out of gear. As you can see here, it just slides up on the studs. Those jam nuts that you see sets the distance forward and back. As you see, you can either raise it forward or go back. From there, this basically shaft goes in and out to engage the clutch.
Once you engage the clutch, again, it will knock it in and out of gear. And those two ports there on the side are basically lines that go to a master cylinder filled with fluid. Since we're underneath the car, I might as well show you around what we're looking at. So we're looking basically from the rear car forward. This is the oil pan underneath the engine. Looking up, you can see basically our clutch, the orange assembly there, and our basically ring gear or flex plate is what we call it. The only thing really that that flex plate is used for, as you can see, is for the teeth to engage the starter there. It's the only thing there. We have no flywheel. We don't want any of that mass to help. Really, we want less mass so that we can help accelerate and decelerate going into the corners. Because basically we're running short tracks. We just need to start and stop. So all this thing is just the teeth that you see around the edge of this thing to engage the starter to get the engine running. That's the only purpose of it. Moving on to the clutch here, as you can see, there's multiple discs in there. I think this is a triple disc clutch, very small, made by Quartermaster. Very nice clutches, really well made. As you can see inside the clutch here, you have the clutch fingers. Basically, when the throwout bearing pushes on those fingers, it basically disengages the output into the input shaft of the transmission and keeps the power from going to the rear wheel, so you can knock it out of gear. You can see the teeth there. Inside of that, that's where the input shaft of the transmission goes into the output of the engine. That's where your power from your engine actually gets transferred to the transmission. So this is a good detailed view of this if you've never seen this before. Nice and clean, and kind of shows you how all this stuff works on basically a race clutch and race transmission. Now that I've kind of explained everything to you from that end, we're going to get ready to put this thing into the car. We're looking in from the top. Get ready to go in. Those two lines that you see hanging down, they are the lines that go into the throwout bearing that slides on. So once we get this attached, we'll put fluid in that, and that will basically pressurize the throwout bearing with hydraulic fluid in our master cylinder. We can actually actuate that with a pedal inside of the car to help knock it in and out of gear. But anyways, as you can see, the clutch is in there with our flex plate. We're going to actually put the bell housing around on the outside of that, and that's what holds the transmission to the firewall, to the engine, and basically keeps everything together there. So once the bell housing is around there, we'll get a good view of that and kind of show you how all that bolts together.
Ooh-wee, after having to sweat and dig and claw and fight and scratch, I finally got it up in the car. I had to rotate the thing completely upside down to get it in there because of the shifter's so tall and my sheet metal beside me in the cockpit is so low. So what I'll do is I'll get underneath here and show you what I'm talking about. But man, what a job! I think this might be one of the harder parts there, at least from a brute strength standpoint, because I about had to just haul that thing in there all I could do to get it up and over, because it was in such a weird position trying to pull it back behind you. But anyways, let's take a look in here and see what we got. All right, as you can see, the transmission is up in here. I shoved it back inside the chassis. So that hole I was talking about right here, I forced it up and around into this hole and spun the thing. And as you can see, it's upside down because my linkage right there is hanging upside down. But I had to do that to make room so that I could put my bell housing back on, and then line up my input shaft into the transmission, into the engine. So we're gonna get that going here in just a second. I'll show you the bell housing once it's bolted up. Alrighty, finally got the bell housing put in this baby. So as you can see, red bell housing attached to the firewall in front of it. All that secured in place now. Motor's bolted down to that. So I got bolts going through the bell housing, through the firewall, to the engine. And all that's held in place together to keep everything nice and snug and square. Also, as you can see underneath the car here, you can see bottom of the bell housing, we've got a little inspection area cut out.
and then you got the input shaft from my transmission. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna install the throwout bearing inside of the bell housing and begin to slide this transmission forward to get everything lined up to get it inside the clutch and into the output of shaft of the engine. So we'll see what this looks like here in just a few minutes. All right then, got the throwout bearing installed. Hooked it to my hydraulic lines that will go from my pedal inside the cockpit where the master cylinder attaches through the sheet metal in the cockpit, down through the bell housing, and then attaches to the throwout bearing and back out to a bleeder screw here on the outside that you can see the cable there running along, that once we get this thing installed we can bleed the clutch. One thing to always remember, always come in from your, I guess, feed side of your fluid on the bottom side of your inlet, and always put your bleed screw or bleed line on the top side. That way any air bubbles that are trapped on the inside when you bleed this thing, they automatically float to the top anyways, and when you push the pedal under pressure, your air will flow out at the top through your bleed line and then out and exit the system, so you don't have any air in the system. So always remember that, to put the bleed line at the top of your fluid system like that. Also, one more note, as a safety precaution, always wear safety glasses. I had a droplet of brake fluid, which is the same thing as clutch fluid, drip out of this into my eye, and it was not very a joyful experience. It hurt like, and my eyeball burns really bad right now, and I've been trying to flush it out with water. So always wear safety glasses and don't be a dummy like me. And finally, our last step is to take the transmission, see down here below, rotate it back around so that the shifter sticks up through this hole that you see here. I gotta clean those shavings up, so ignore that. But stick that shifter stick back up through there and get all this lined up, and this throwout bearing will actually go back inside of the bell housing and will line up on this shaft here. So let's get to it. Alright, transmission is finally installed. As you can see, got everything bolted up to the firewall in the bell housing. I've got the drive shaft and all the linkages connected. In just a second I'll show you how my gear stick and all that goes in. But just to kind of give you a quick overview of what we did. Transmission's bolted to the bell housing. Inspection hole. You can see our clutch and throwout bearing. The silver piece is our throwout bearing. The orange piece is our clutch. So all that sits in there nice, neat, bolted up nice and good. And then at the back here, we have our drive shafts. You can see now, have a less than an inch play now in between, about an inch I would say, in between that and the end of the tail shaft housing, and then all the way back to our rear end connected. So good job, good complete deal. Time to get this thing cleaned up and ready to ride. But anyways, as you can see, got my shifter in with my shifter boot. All that's nice and back together. And I'll show you what it looks like once you get inside the car. Alright, sitting in the cockpit to this bad boy. As you can see, got the gear shifter, my stick. All the gears move real smooth on this thing. Like I said, John did a really good job with this. So reverse, first, second, third, fourth. So whenever we get to getting on it out there on the track, start in third and then shift back to fourth, like just as quick as you can see.
Alright y'all, that's going to do it for this week's video and episode on my YouTube channel. I hope you appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informational to you. That transmission install wasn't an easy job, but it got the job done. We got it in there, took it to the track, Really been great for us. We've been racing with it here for the last year, haven't had any problems. But I wanted to show you that because of all the good informational content, all the close-up shots of the transmission, clutch, all that good stuff. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, questions, any concerns, anything like that on this, please list them in the comment section below. I'll try to reach back out to you as soon as I can. I always follow back up with everybody just to make sure I follow back up with people that's keeping up with this stuff. Because, hey, if you got questions and we're engaging, we're all growing on this thing all together. So, I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, y'all be good, y'all be safe. Thank y'all. See ya.